Hello everyone, thank you very much for joining me again. Today we start a new mini series in which I will try to discover Copilot. So you might know that I have already discussed a bit in 4 episodes using ChatGPT, and I learned a lot about ChatGPT. With this occasion, I would like to try discover how Copilot works for me and try to understand how it works for other developers and how useful would that be for an organization. And then of course at the very end I would like to learn what is the best combination between ChatGPT and Copilot as a software developer, and especially pointing out in my case as a Java developer, because that's what I am. So today I will start again with some experiments. And if you're watching the event live, by the way, remember you have a live chat there, so I always keep an eye on the live chat. And of course, if you see this recording, then you can still put your comments in the comment section. And remember, you can always follow me on LinkedIn and Twitter as well. What I'm gonna do today is start with a simple example where I want to build head to tail a small web application with Spring Boot using a database. That's what I've started with when discussing ChatGPT as well. That's what I want to start with Copilot. And I just realized when I was considering this subject, because I want a comparison. No, I want to be able to compare them, and I've already discovered that I have some comparison I can make. And the idea is, if I were someone who doesn't know at all anything about these technologies and only have been given the scenario they have to implement, I would say I wouldn't be able to only use Copilot, wouldn't I? So already one difference that comes to my mind is if I'm a real beginner, or maybe I used the technology long ago, or maybe I want to use it, it's in the Java field, I have some experience, but I still don't know where to start with. My feeling is that ChatGPT would be here a better approach to start with than Copilot. So somehow I feel that I'm put in front of my IDE. In this case, I know precisely what I need to do, so I'm gonna start this demonstration. But if I didn't know how to start with when building this app, then I'm pretty sure I would make no use of Copilot for the beginning. No, so in my case, I said I want to have a database. Let's say I want to have two tables, clients and orders. I want a application using Spring Data JPA, Hibernate behind the scenes, some REST endpoints on which I can execute some simple CRUD operations for the moment. So will Copilot be able to make my work faster? That's the question. So how much faster, and what's the feeling about working with that? So let me create a project, and again I want to bold this that I need to know what I'm doing here. No, so Copilot E1 or episode 1, example 1. If I weren't, I would say, hey, this would be a little bit more difficult. No, so let's say Java, and I'm using Maven, and then I know exactly what dependencies I have to add. I'm not sure if I would not add dependencies at all, if this would help me, but I don't want to test that now. I know that I need a web application, so I'm going to add the web dependency. Maybe let's say we want to, why not secure it a bit, so let's add Spring Security. Let's add the Spring Data JPA, let's add some Lombok, and let's also add the MySQL driver, because if we want to use that, then we need the driver as well. And if there is anything else that I need to add afterwards, let's say that we can do that later. No, maybe we want something with flyway migration or something like that. So yeah, let's try to create this as well. So I'm curious about if using Flyway, would Copilot write my create table statements for me, or would I need to use ChatGPT for that? I'm very curious at how deep would Copilot really help me with that? So it's a very interesting point, because I feel at some point Copilot can be very interesting, but somehow I feel that if you don't know upfront what you need to do, you can't really use it properly. And that's just my feeling as a beginner starting with Copilot. Maybe I will change my mind afterwards, maybe not, but that's, I think, the whole purpose of this demonstration, or series of demonstrations, because I plan to have more than one episode, of course, and try to find out, and maybe it's a good point, even if I, for the beginning, try to open ChatGPT, no? So let's have something like this, and try to see if I can use that where Copilot is not enough for me. Wouldn't that be great? So let's actually do that, since I haven't used it for some time and my session disconnected, but now I'm again online. And still resolving my dependencies still takes a few time, and I hope just a few more seconds and then we can begin. And let's say for the very beginning that I want to create some entities, and now I usually, what I like to do is starting with the database. So I would say, hey, in the DB migration folder here, I already have to add at least one first version for migration, which will create my two tables. And then the question is, still downloading, come on, man. Okay, the question is, will I be able or not to use that? So I think I can create a SQL file already, and I will say v1 underline create a clients table SQL. Okay, and normally I would be able to use GPT where I'm logged in already, so it should be enabled. So let's see, if I say create table clients, would it be smart enough to already, okay, here it is. So it says ID int not null auto increment. I agree with that. Name, email, phone. I would say, hey, let's take out the phone. Of course, GPT doesn't know all the columns that I need in my table. This is something that I will need to decide, but let's say that I have the ID, the client name, and the email, and I already found these suggestions to be good enough. Okay, so it looks to me like I'm happy. Yeah, I'm happy because it looks to like it understood what I want from the very beginning, and you can see that I have this primary key as well. So let's step into the second file, and it was almost instantaneously, no? So it really helped me. Now it takes me some time because I'm explaining what I'm thinking, and I'm explaining what I think about that. But normally for me that would have been already some time that I would have spared, because you see it already provided me, and I then would have only like filled in or take out what I don't need. And to be honest with you, this really looks like what I have in my mind, so it was really good, no? So I'm now saying orders. I would say v2 create orders table. Funny thing is that I'm not sure if it doesn't work, but it seems that Copilot doesn't take into consideration the names of the files. I think it would have been a little bit smarter if it did. So change dialect. Anyway, it's MySQL anyway. So create table orders. Okay, fine enough. I'm not sure if it started because I said orders directly. Maybe it reads the file name in the end, because I only said create table and it automatically filled with orders. So I expect it might also now read the file name. So maybe I was wrong. And then I says ID, the auto increment, and says client ID. it really makes the client ID a foreign key, which I'm happy to see. It gives me an order date and it makes the ID a primary key. Now my order would also have a value, so I would say let's say I have a price, and it gives me it completes me with the default I want the price. It says, hey, it should be a decimal. I think it sounds good for me. It should be a decimal with 2 decimals should be fine. And what I don't have here is I don't have like a number of my orders. I have an ID which would be an internal, but I would like to have a number as well. So number of my order would be a varchar in this case, because I say number, but I would normally believe this is not necessarily a number, but it might contain letters as well. And honestly, I'm not sure if it knows, but I would have preferred it. Exactly, I want a unique number. Now I'm not really sure if this is good with what I have here, but it looks like it's at least what I want. I don't understand why it doesn't take my MySQL. Here it is. Okay. Okay. So normally this should be what I want. Now, of course, in the application properties file, so I would need to specify the Spring Flyway. So Spring Flyway. So I would have expected now to already give me something, but it seems that it didn't. And one of the things that I don't like is, you see, it provided me with Postgres. So somehow Copilot didn't figure out that I'm using MySQL, which is something that I don't like. So I'm gonna change that to MySQL, and I'm gonna leave it like this, because my database uses 3306, which is the default port, and then I would say demo, and then okay, I really am using root, and I don't need any password, so I can skip over this. So for the flyway itself looks good, and then of course I need to provide a data source as well. So data source URL, and that's good because it kept the fact that I'm using MySQL. So it somehow learned from the previous things that I have been writing. What is the plugin used in IntelliJ to auto-generate the code? So it's Copilot. That's what we are discussing now. It's the GitHub Copilot. You need a license for that. I paid $20 per month, and of course it has plugins for different IDs, so you can use it within different IDs. IntelliJ for some reason continues to be my favorite, even though it has a few problems that I don't like. And that's it. And again, the question is, if I start this now, everything that I wrote, would that be okay? So meaning, if I'm going to Workbench, will I see my tables being created, or do I have maybe some problems? Because it looks like Copilot didn't figure out I'm using MySQL, so maybe it really used something which is Postgres specific, and in that case it might not work. So I'm really curious what's the case, and we will immediately see the response after the execution. And it's successfully migrated, which means that the code it created is good. So you can see, I can see here in the code it said that is successfully migrated both of the versions I have created. So that normally means if I'm going here and refresh, I should see of course, 3 tables. One of them is the clients table, so is the table for the clients. The second one is the orders table, and then of course Flyway itself creates its own table where it keeps track of everything that it manages, so all the version filed. Normally here we should see 2 records now saying that the 2 versions have been created. Here are the records with their checksum created, and that's how basically Flyway knows what has been run and what it needs to run next time. So there will probably not be a next time because I don't want to do any more things here, but I can say that for the moment it was kind of helpful, and my expectation from the very beginning was it's like it matches with what I expected, meaning that I need to know what I have to do because it's only filling in the code, but it doesn't magically find it out from somewhere. No, it has to find out from what you do. So normally with me working on it should find more and more details it learns from, and then use them further. So up to now I see it made quite a good thing, but see, I still need to myself be able to add the packages, know the classes that I need to write. So when I was using ChatGPT, you remember that it helped me with immediately giving me the full code. It has the advantage of providing you the full code, so if you don't remember what you had to do, for example, say I used Flyway long time ago and I don't remember what I need to do, so I'm an experienced, say, Java developer, but I never used, say, Liquibase in my life. I feel that ChatGPT here would be more helpful, because if I don't know exactly that I have to go to the migration folder and create the files, Copilot doesn't do that for me. ChatGPT does that for me, and it even explains what you should do. Its disadvantage that we found out is that everything it learned from it's from a couple of years ago, and you see that in our field things change pretty quick, which means that 2 years is quite a lot. Like, look at my book, Spring Security in Action. I have to write the 2nd edition now, and the book it's only 3 years old, the 1st edition, and things like really changed a lot. So in case you want to know how to use Spring Security with the newest stuff, then my 1st edition of Spring Security in Action will not help you that much. No, of course, the book is still helpful if you want to work on an application that already exists and has Spring Security implemented in place, which most likely didn't change. But in case you want to learn the new stuff, it doesn't, no? And that's the idea with ChatGPT as well. If you have 2 years window delay, then it's quite a pain for development, for software development. That's again one of the things I've learned with these experiments, and hopefully you guys with me staying here, you've also learned together with me what are the advantages and also the disadvantages of it. So I'm creating a new package, and I say usually I start with the entities. So let me create the entities, and then I'm gonna say what entity do I need. So I need the client entity, and I'm pretty curious how much will Copilot be able to help me with here. So I will say private string name. I mean, I think I have a name here, no, but I would have expected to see the ID in the first place. Okay, I'm happy. It gave me the ID as well. I would have expecting it to be a little bit more generative in terms of annotations as well, because see, I'm kind of writing it myself here, and if I don't remember that I need to write the generated value annotation here, then of course it auto-completed for me the strategy, but well, the first thing I need to write is the generated value, and I would have expected simply from the fact that it generated me the code here using auto increment, it would automatically know that if this is an entity, then the generated value should have been added on this field. So to be honest, this is a markdown for Copilot. I didn't like this. I'm gonna write further. So it generates me the constructor, but I'm gonna say I want no args constructor here, and I want getters and setters, because again, I'm not sure if Copilot knows how to parse also the other files, but in my perspective, only by finding the project Lombok here, I would have expected it to be a little bit smarter than what it proves to be. So, okay, fine with that. So I have the name. And remind me, so my table is clients. So what does that mean is that I need to also add the table annotation. By the way, let's not mix the annotations with the Lombok ones. So say table annotations, name clients. Okay, that somehow came out of the box. I don't know where from, but it came out of the box. And then I want to say private surname. Hey Copilot, where does that come from? So you generated it with name and email. Why do you suggest me to have a surname? So no, I don't think this is great. So this is something that I didn't like. Okay, but okay, fine enough. I made it in the end. I created the client entity. I don't say it helped me a lot. So for the entities, what I did here, I could have done it same faster without Copilot. Okay, then okay, I'm going to create my orders. Order, I would say it's order. No, not orders. So let me actually refactor it and put it on the singular. So it's order, and this is again an entity for me. I again need to use the table annotation. Okay, it provided me a bit of it, but not too much. And then it tells me ID, name, and email. Honestly, Copilot, so is this really what you can do? I mean, you generated me the orders table, and now you give me the exactly same fields that you suggested me for the clients. That's something that I wouldn't use, I wouldn't pay for, honestly. Okay, fine enough. ID, generated value, strategy, identity, generated the parameter for me. Okay, great, but not great. And then in the orders table, I need to have the number and the price first and the order date. So the number, private string number, private string order date, private string delivery date. So no, nothing matches, honestly. So number, order date, and price. Okay, order date, maybe it's because I gave it, so say local date time instead. It was my mistake, but it would have corrected me. And then big decimal price finally, after I wrote the first letter. Oh, it starts now. So many to one. I'm curious. Many clients to one order? I don't think so. So no, I think it's the other way around. So you are fooling with me. And before that, let me actually do the noars constructor, the getter and the setter. And then funny it was, it said many to one, but it's actually is it, sorry, many orders to one client. So it was many to one. I think it's right, many to one. So many orders to one client. Fine enough. And then it says join column client ID. I'm gonna check this out because I'm not sure. Client ID, okay, looks fine, so looks good. So it started to be a little bit more helpful. And then it says okay, private client, fine enough. And then it suggests me to have another many to one. I'm not sure for what, but I think this is everything I needed. So I don't think I need anything else, and it looks good. Now going to the client, I'm gonna create a bidirectional relationship. So I'm saying one client to many orders. Again, join column, no, that shouldn't be, but map by, yes, it looks like it's good. And then list of orders looks good as well. Okay, so that looks good. If I have to give it a mark, I wouldn't say that. Look, number. So even mistaken it here, and I hope I didn't do the same in the order. So number, okay. I can say on the entities, it really helped me a lot. So it says someone tells me that we should change the suggestions if it doesn't provide me. Let's try that with the services. So I will create a new services package, and then I will try to change suggestions, see if it helps me with more suggestions, and maybe that's the way we should work with, no? So I have seen somewhere that Copilot creates, I'm reading the comments now. Yeah, I've seen somewhere that Copilot creates code when you give data requirement in comment and Copilot generate code in VS. It's possible in Java too. If yes, can you please show that? I don't know. That's why we are here, so we can try that. Now, of course, in the entities, I'm not sure exactly whether you could do that with anything, because you anyway had to write the attributes now. So writing a comment or writing the attributes myself, I wouldn't think it would help me a lot, but I think it might help me now in the services, no? So in the services, I'll say a client service, and in the client service, I want to be able to add the service. So all args constructor, because I'm on some dependency injection here, and then before the services, client repository. Fine enough. So a lot of things. They look kind of good, but not what I wanted. But I just realized that maybe it was a better idea actually to have the repositories first. So let's try the repositories and say client repository, which should be an interface, no, and which should extend from JPA repository of client and integer, and hopefully that's right because we use tin here. Fine, I have checked that. I'm importing the class, and then say I want to add a client, and I want to make sure that there is no client with the same name, email. Say the name, okay, can be duplicated, but the email should be unique. And what I want here, so in that case, I would need to have a method that retrieves the client by this, so I can validate that in the database I don't already have that ID. So you said, hey, write some comment. I would say getting client by email, okay, and then find by email, which looks good. I'm curious. Now, you know, maybe if you followed many of my other streams, I have told you at some point that even if I know you can use the method naming to have Spring Data behind the scenes creating the queries for you, I very often prefer to use the query annotation. So I'm curious if I'm okay. So it says with the first parameter. Okay, I do prefer to use name, and someone told me I can use, say, or. I don't see it doing anything, so I'm trying to use it, but it doesn't seem to provide me alternative ways of writing. I will check that one later. So anyway, but it looked fine. To be honest with you, if I did that, then I would immediately afterwards delete the comment, because you don't want to have a method in the repository which is named find by email and the comment immediately above it saying searching client by email. I mean, it's obvious, isn't it? That wouldn't necessarily that wouldn't be clean data, clean coding at all, no? So I deleted the comment. That's how I would work. Okay, fine enough. Going to the client service, I would say add a client if there's no other with the same email address. Okay, so kind of implemented me something. I'm not necessarily happy. Okay, do I have anything here that you can tell me? So I'm using alt with or. I don't have anything, so it doesn't provide me anything. You can see that. Okay, again, not happy, but I'm gonna try my best. So final, I'm writing the code myself. Okay, it provided me something in terms of client repository, but it didn't seem to suggest me a lot of things. So I'm gonna start writing, and I'm gonna say add client, and I expect I have my client as a parameter. So I want to add this client somehow. Okay, and I've just seen some suggestions there. So it says if client repository find by email is not null, then save the client, which is partially good, but I would not leave it like this as a professional developer. First of all, I'm going back to my client repository, and I do realize that you might find a client without an ID. So in my perspective here, this should actually be an optional of client and not a client if you are to like write this code in a professional way, and that makes it in the client service. I think that will not work anymore. No, so I'm gonna cut it out completely and see, and it provides me the same option, which is clearly not good. Okay, this is clearly not what we want. This will not work even. So this is a buggy code. So Copilot generates me some code, and if I were a developer who doesn't know what they are doing and I would simply put this in, then this would be buggy. And at this point, I can say I'm totally disappointed, because it clearly is that using ChatGPT worked a lot better for many of my cases. So up to this point of the experiment, if I were an organization, I would not be choosing Copilot. I'm going to give it more chances, however. So say I want to get the client, and I will say optional client. Okay, it started to give me something. Okay, optional client, and then it called, and then if optional client is empty, save. So save the client if it's not yet in the database. By the way, it didn't suggest me anywhere that I should actually use a transactional annotation here. And I usually use transactional with read-only. Okay, this is it. And then what the heck did I import here? Oh, I imported the Jakarta one, not the Spring one. So here it is. Fine enough. And that's it. But again, I had to know, no? I had to know what I have to import. And then I'm gonna here, and I know, hey, this is a comment that I don't think should be there, but I added only for Copilot, and then transactional with no read-only. And then what happens if the client really exists? So I would, in my perspective, throw an exception. So I would say else throw, and it suggests me runtime exception. While if I had to do that myself, I would never use types like exception and runtime exception. This is clearly not something that would be helpful for a developer who doesn't yet know what they do. And this autocomplete by this time, I would say, hey, this is not really what I was expecting, no? So I'm not sure if this is bad news or good news. Good news is probably AI will not take our jobs very soon. Bad news is that you will still have to learn Java and write the things by yourself, so read a lot of books and stuff. But it doesn't look like, hey Copilot, you just failed my interview. If you were here for a Java interview at an organization I'm working for, you wouldn't have passed the interview. That's what I can tell you. While I would say I would give a chance to ChatGPT, because I really felt more comfortable, and I really was remembering in last episode we were working on last week, I was even able to like write front-end code myself without understanding anything and create a functional app, which is not necessarily good, but that's something that I would definitely not be able to do only with Copilot. So let me call this one already existing client exception. which extends runtime exception. Fine enough. Okay, that's something I would do as well. So it helped me a little bit on writing this exception. And then I would say here already existing client exception. And that's it. Okay, but it still took me a lot of time to have this this set client. Then I have okay, fine, but why or else throw? I mean, find ID, find by ID, or else throw what? So or else throw again new runtime exception. So it doesn't really because it was a lot better from my point of view. Say instead of runtime exception here, writing me something like inexistent client exception or whatever. I'm not sure if that's really correct. And then I would just have to do something like that, create the class in the exception package. That's it. And then go here and extends runtime exception. And yeah, that maybe here it could help me like generate. And it was much better, definitely. So that's again something that I had to work too much on myself to worth the money, if you ask me. Then let's say if I want to get the client by ID, so I want also a method that provides me the client by ID. So get client by email, not by ID. Sorry, by ID I already have. Okay, so it says client get client by email, and then it now throws me, so it learned from before, which is fine. And at least I would say, hey, this method seemed to have generated in a way I would say, hey, it's good. And now I might say I have 3 methods, and I'm not going to go further, or maybe I should go to at least create a repository for a controller for them, and I want to spend a few time to see if I can write some unit tests or integration tests, and I'm pretty curious how much it helps me with that. So let's say controllers, and I want some REST endpoints. So say I have the client controller here, and in the client controller it's a REST controller, and private final client service. I'm gonna add here the all-args constructor for the dependency injection. It looks for the moment that it didn't help me a lot, and it still looks like, hey, I would have expected here to help me with like, okay, add client, like take this is all you can, because if I wrote already a service with it, wouldn't it be able to like literally help me with calling the client service? So client service, add client something, client, and then it's something I need to write here in front of the client if I want this, for example, to be part of the request body, which is, by the way, something that would not really be smart in this case, because I have a list of orders and each order has a client, so I have a bidirectional relationship. So it's clear that here I would need to implement actually a DTO, which I will do. And going back to my package, let's say I will create some model package, which in the model package I can say client DTO. So this client DTO, name, email, password. Would I actually add the ID as well? Yes, because, well, if you want to return the data, maybe you need the ID as well. Maybe you want to make this a builder, I don't know, using Lombok. And then go back and say request, at request body. client DTO client, and then I need somehow to map from the client DTO to client. So maybe something like map from client DTO to client. Okay, and it says what? It creates me the constructor. Honestly, are you serious? Okay, no, say client from client DTO, and then you see it creates me the client, and it uses some builder syntax, but to be honest with you, I don't remember to have added the builder annotation on the client, did I? So will this even compile? I don't think so. I don't think so. So let's see. So it gives me a client. What just happened here? I didn't even create it from, oh man, from client DTO. So yeah, I start to be a little bit upset that I even bought that license, you know, at the moment. Client DTO, and then what it does, it creates my client and tries to use a builder annotation, which I can't even use now because I didn't use the builder here. So okay, we can do that now. I don't disagree. Yeah, we can add the builder here, but the question is, why did it even use the builder? And I think the builder also needs an no, a proper constructor for this class. So meaning a constructor. It has a no args constructor. Do I need an all args constructor as well? Okay, nice. Didn't know that. Anyway, going back. So going back here, so I created this. I would say it needs to be static, no, because otherwise I will not be able to call it. And then now client DTO get things don't work, and that might be because I didn't add the getter annotation here, so I have to do that as well. So for the moment, I don't think that it helped me a lot. No, it maybe didn't help me at all. And then it said client ID, name, and password. Where did this come from? Where the heck did this come from? So I can't see how can this be possible. So the client has specific values like ID, name, email, and suddenly it comes with some kind of password, which by the way I think it was there from the beginning but still auto-generated because I don't think I have written it myself. And now I'm going to just say I'm a little bit tired, so I'm not going to spend more time with this, but I'm just going to say client DTO from client, and let's say that this is a what we do here is a post. Now we add a client, and let's say it's a post mapping on client. Let's say this is everything that we wanted to do, because we already spent a lot of time. Okay, so now honestly, did it help me a lot? No, I don't think it helped me a lot. So for this, I would say the IntelliJ complete options versus ChatGPT, of course, they are not the same, but they are not a big difference either. In terms of how much would this help me in terms of really writing the code. Maybe in a bigger project it knows more, maybe it parses for more, but I don't think this is something like it really worked for me. And okay, let's say that I want to write some tests as well. So say that I want to write some integration tests. What would I do in that case? Auto configure mock MVC. Say I'm using mock MVC, so I'm gonna just auto wire mock MVC here. Okay, no help for the moment. And then I want to have a test. I would say if test if client doesn't exist in the DB, then a client is added to the DB. So I have the test, I have a display name annotation normally I would put there. And okay, so let's say the code went there, and then I need to write the public void test add client, it suggests me. And of course this is not needed anymore. So what now? Do I have to write it myself? Because honestly, if I have to write it myself, then this is really not what I expected from $20 a month. Okay, so something has been auto-completed. I will check what. It's incomplete. That's bad from my point of view. I wouldn't expect to have incomplete stuff. Now, content type seems to require a media type, so I'm gonna have to change it manually, which I will do. And then content, and the problem is, I think actually, is the fact that it forgot to add no, I think it was fine. And then it looks for the body, not content. So content type and body should be, and then the body itself should be a string, and it somehow filled in something for me, but it was incomplete, so I will have to try again. And then probably I'll have to say something like, and expect, let's say I at least expect some status. It's okay. So honestly, I feel a little bit more disturbed than helped now. I would have written already this test by myself, so I know the stuff. For me, I would have already written it. Look at what the heck is this? What is this kind of suggestion it provides me? I just created some text block, and it doesn't even provide me a complete JSON. So honestly, really disappointed. Now let's try some object mapper here just to make sure. Object mapper, new object mapper, and then I will create a client. So client DTO. No, it requests a client DTO. New client DTO. I think I could have used actually a builder here if I remember correctly. Okay. And specify everything that I need. So in my case would be just the name, John, the email, and that's it. And then do something like object mapper. Oh, sorry, it's mapper. Right value async client DTO. Again, I'm so disturbed, so I don't know what I did here. So I closed this one, then I closed that one, then I closed that one, and it says can't resolve that. Honestly, it would have taken me less time to do it myself. It would have taken me less time to do it myself. So it's incredible. I don't even know what I'm doing wrong here, honestly. So it helped me that much that I don't even know what I'm doing wrongly here. So what I'm gonna do actually, because I think that, so I set up the body on the post, some indentation is missing for me here, so I'm performing a post on the client with this content type. And then wasn't it body? Maybe I'm wrong, but I think it was body. Then I don't really get what I'm doing wrong here. So what I would do actually in this case, if I really want to use AI instead of putting my brain, I would say, hey, ChatGPT, can you correct this test for me? Let's see if that really works. Then it's clearly beating everything you can say about Copilot. Okay. And then it says content. I didn't see content. And does this really work? Not really. So not really. Okay. It tells me what I have to import, and maybe what I imported is not correct. So I don't know. Maybe. Okay, so the import was actually the problem. So would I say that ChatGPT helped me better than Copilot? Yes, I would say it did, because, well, it told me how to correct the test in the end. It didn't work for me. It didn't work either when I replaced it. I didn't have to think about it. No, I just had to copy it, and it gave me everything, including the imports, which clearly cleared everything out. So I don't want to continue with this. We will see each other in a new episode, but I will read the questions first, or the comments. So let's see what were your impressions about our today's experiment. So maybe you should call to string method for client DTO. No, I don't think that was the case, because look, I don't even have a toString method, which would mean that I would use what the predefined toString, that one with class name, and hash code. How would that help? I don't think that would actually help anyhow. So no, that definitely wouldn't be a solution. And then, sort of topic, would it be possible in the future for you to install the presentation assistant plugin in IntelliJ, so we can see directly on the screen the keyboard shortcuts are you using? I will note this down. I didn't even know that something like that exists. So let me actually note down presentation assistant. Okay. Thank you for your suggestion. And then, yes, ChatGPT better than Copilot. I'm not totally sure. I don't want to say that, but honestly, from today's experiment, I would say that I didn't feel it helped me a lot. I would say that in the previous experience with ChatGPT, I felt a little bit more helped than using Copilot. And if I had to choose between the two now, if someone would force me to choose between the two now, I will go with ChatGPT instead of Copilot. With that being said, I will close this one. Thank you very much, everyone, for being here with me. I'm very glad to have seen a lot of you here again, and I hope you've learned something as well. I've learned a lot, and I know more about AI and how to use them as a Java developer. Until next time we meet, have an excellent time for study, and talk to you later. Cheers, everyone.